Good afternoon and good evening, Melges 24 sailors from around the globe. This is Prof O'Connell transmitting to you from North Sails, Ireland, here in Dublin. And I want to welcome all of you Melges 24 sailors to tonight's webinar. This is, I think we're now in week 8 of the North Sails series of webinars. And of course, our best wishes go out to all of you who obviously are staying at home, and I'm sure that some are finding it a little bit more difficult than others, but hopefully we'll all be out in the water soon and get back to the sport that we know and love so well. We've got a fantastic show here this evening. We're going to be talking about downwind sailing in the Melges 24, and just want to introduce to you now my co-panelists on the show tonight. And first of all, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Giulio Desiderato. Are you there, Giulio?
I'm here. Ciao, Prof. Ciao, everybody. Ciao to all the friends connected during this webinar.
Fantastic, Giulio. And whereabouts in the world are you, Giulio?
Everything is going to be a little bit better here in Italy. We are waiting to come back in the water, and finger crossed, we really need to come back sailing as soon as possible.
Great stuff, Giulio. And you're in Genoa, isn't that right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm in Genoa.
Fantastic. Good stuff. And we have a very special guest with us on tonight's webinar. And I want a really special welcome to Federico Michetti. Fred, are you there?
Ciao, Prof. Thank you very much for inviting me. Ciao, Giulio. I'm very happy to be here. And ciao to all the Melges 24 lovers.
Wonderful. Great to have you, Fred. And it's wonderful to have somebody of Fred's standard in the Melges 24. Fred has got a stellar record in the class. He's won the World Championships 5 times and won the Europeans 4 times, and has a whole host of national titles in the 24 class. So it'll be wonderful talking to Freddie, and thanks a million for joining us. So we just want to kick off, guys, just by giving a shout out to the class. Really good time just to renew your class dues and support the class association. They're trying to keep everything going in the background in these tough times, so that when the light switch flicks and we can get back out on the water, there's still a structure behind us to enable us to run events. So good time to stay connected with your class. So just to give you a brief sort of outline, we're going to try and keep this webinar, guys, to about an hour, which seems to be sort of best practice. And tonight we're going to talk about downwind sailing in the 24 across the wind ranges, and we're going to talk a little bit about sail selection and what kite to use, and we're just going to use some really exciting video, and hopefully it'll bring it all to light. So I think we might crack on, and maybe, Giulio, we might just start off by just talking about spinnaker selection and fabrics, and what's the thinking there, Giulio, in terms of which spinnaker to use?
Yeah, first of all, I promise that is the only slide without picture and without video, so I don't want to spend too much time on this, and for sure the other slide will be more interesting. But just to start speak about the downwind in the Melges 24, I think that as all our friends know, we can sail in base of the wind condition with different WMG in the Melges 24. For this, as a North Sail, we in our inventory, we have 2 different kites, the P1 and the P3. And really quickly, because then there will be a webinar about our sail design, but really quickly, the P1 is the kite that we use for the high WMG, so really light wind or during the reaching. The P3 is the kite that we use, I can say, in the wind condition between 8 and 12 knots, more or less. You can combine both the kite with 2 different clothes, the Irex and the Dynacot. I think that it's important to know that the Dynacot is the more forgiving cloth, so it's for sure better for the P3 kite. So, for example, it's helpful in the choppy wave condition, when you sail deep with your Melges 24. The Irex is I think better for flat water or windy condition, because it's able to transfer more power to your boat. So really quickly, this is the situation and why we offer 2 different kites.
Perfect. So P1 super light and bow up planing conditions, P3 for more displacement conditions or slightly lighter conditions, and we have a choice of 2 colors.
Then,
Okay.
of course, Prof, have all the trimmer. I think that maybe have one of these 2 kites that are the favorite one, no? So I can say that, for example, with Bombarda, with Champa, it was a really low, 70% of the time the P1 compared to the P3. But
Right.
it depends by the trimmer and the helmet.
Right, good stuff. So I think maybe Fred, we might ask you to comment here. This is a pretty super light air video that we're going to show. So I'll just let it roll now, and maybe we could have a little chat about this super light air stuff, Freddie, and tell us what you see. If I could actually get my work, then I'd be much better. There we go. So Fred.
I mean, these are definitely tough conditions because the wind is very light. We are in the range between 3 and 6 knots. So there are a few things that are very, very important. The crew displacement and the position of every crew member. So it's very important to try to keep the stern out of the water as much as possible and to have a good heeling angle. Obviously, we will talk about the heeling angle all night, I think, and the crew position either. I mean, it seems very extreme due to the condition, the guy windward with the jib up, with the jib out, sorry. I think that it's not for everyone. So I honestly strongly recommend to keep the jib roll in this condition because the boat will be definitely easier and the trimmer will have less difficulties. I'm very surprised because looking at the video, the guy windward is doing a very good job.
And how would you judge, Fred, you know, what is the sense you have when you call for the jib to be furled in the super light conditions? How do you know when that needs to be done? And how do you know when to ask for the jib to be unfurled? What decides that?
Okay, first of all, I think that is a very important call that must come from the trimmer. And I think that depends from many, many different circumstances, like if you are covered or if you are able to sail in your free air. Because obviously having the jib up, it will have a huge effect on the kite. So also another important matter is like how the pressure is. Example, if you are sailing in a path day where it's like going 3 to 6 knots, I think that for having the jib up, you really need to have a steady condition and you need to be able to have a soaking mode. So let me say, when I'm trimming, I'm asking I'm normally a guy that is calling the jib out quite earlier. I would say that these is a really extreme cases, but again, as soon as I'm able to push the bow down, to start like having a soaking mode and the wind is stable, I like to have the jib up because obviously it will help us to sail lower.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I certainly remember trimming the spinnaker in the 24 and in the super light stuff, if you're trying to soak down and you were just running out of a little bit of pressure in your hand, sometimes furling the jib was good and it allowed some more air into the kite. Or I know sometimes that if we wanted to go high to protect our wind, we would get the jib out to go high a little bit and then soak down again and jib back in again. So I guess it does depend, Fred, as you say, what sort of mode you're sailing in.
I mean, we can say that in general, 3 to 6 knots is going to be shifty, is going to be puffy, and every little wave will make a huge effect. So it's definitely a P1 condition.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid, guys, to use the P1. I have to admit, I've been out from the class for 5 years, and I'm back in the class like last October for the Worlds. And I was impressed about the design. The P1 is a very all-round sail. And I mean, I think that there is going to be a huge doubt every time which one take in the inventory for a championship. But definitely don't be afraid to use the P1 in this condition because it's a very good, reliable sail.
Perfect. Thanks, Fred.
And open the jib only when you feel very confident.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so Giulio, bow number 860. This is your merry team here on Bombarda, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I know very well this boat. And in this video, we were in Miami, and we spent a lot of time practicing the jibes, you know, in the light wind and medium and strong. I think that it's really important. And I choose to put this video in the webinar because I think that we can comment the full jibes, and I see I want to be focused on the rotation of the boat that is moved, and I really like the way that the crew tried to push and roll the boat. No, so if you see the differences.
We'll play it again here, Giulio, and maybe we'll just slow it down as we get into the jibe, and you can just talk us through it. Talk us through the choreography of this light air jibe. So we'll just play it again now and try and slow it down.
Yeah. Previous one.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. Yeah, so the kite started just a little bit earlier compared to the rotation of the boat. Then the rotation is quite smooth. You can see that the main arrived later compared to the kite. And I think that it's really important, the work that all the crew is doing to roll the boat as much as they can. And especially the two guys in the front, the bowman Nicola Dalferro and the fleet Carlo Zermini. In the same time, while the guys are squashing the boat, you can see that the main trimmer, in this case, the tactician, Matteo Evaldi, is also working on the main, just to have the, you know, to help to be more, the roll of the boat could be, it's more stable in this way.
Yeah. I mean, for
so
me,
while the guys are,
for me, looking at that video, Freddie, it seems to me that, you know, the rotating of the spinnaker faster than the rate of turn is important, Fred. What do you think?
I mean, I think that we will, after the leading angle, we will also talk today a lot about communication and how to proceed. I think that it's very important to have the right terminology, because it's very important, the terminology between the driver and the trimmer, because they have to play together. And many times happen that the boat is not turning, the kite is turning too fast, or the kite is not turning and the boat is turning late. So I think that it's very important to find a way to talk it to each other. The rotation here is perfect. I have to be honest, I mean, I've been lucky that I have a lot of maestro in my life, a lot of people that teach me how to sail well. One of these guys is Vince Brun. And I remember as a nightmare, still now, Vince yelling at me because I was over trimming too much the kite during the turning light wind. And I think that if I can just say something to this video is that Ciampa maybe over trimmed the kite a little too much. I think that Vince was totally right. Having the kite fly, I think that is a big gain. But the jibe of Bombarda in this case has been perfect.
Yeah, I certainly.
Thanks, Fede.
I certainly remember in the 24 that if you rotate the spinnaker faster than the rate of turn, you know, then the boom comes over. The spinnaker fills quicker and it allows you to exit the jibe lower. And certainly is looking to rotate the spinnaker faster than the rate of turn, and it just gave you a better lower exit angle.
Communication is the key. So I think that is important. Once the tactician wants to jibe, I think that there is like the normal countdown, 3, 2, 1 jibe. And then I think that is very important between trimmer and driver to understand who starts first, because many times happen that they are running behind each other and nothing is happening. So guys, before leave the dock in a light day, but basically in every kind of condition, let's spend time to discuss about communication. That is the key.
Excellent. Good stuff. So, so we're now going to just move on, guys, a little bit from that super light stuff to, I know different people call it different things in different parts of the world, but I sometimes this would be called lazy planing, or when you're sort of pushing the bow up. And I don't know, Fred, about you, but certainly for me, that decision on whether to put the bow up to try to plane or whether to stay low how do you decide, Fred, on how to get that right?
Okay, again, communication is the key. Communication makes the boat faster and the crew happier. So I think that here is, let me say that we have the low mode, the transition mode, the lazy plan, and the bow up. Okay, these are our what we use to be in my team. So communication is the key. The transition is very tricky. The tactician need to be very solid in the call, because in the race course, most of the time, it's still very patchy. The guy can see some windward puff coming or lower puff coming, so he will call the mode. It's very important, guys, that you have to spend a lot of time training on how to switch properly to a VMG, from a VMG to a transition, and from a transition to a lazy planning. So transition is, we are talking about, we are around 10, 11, 12 knots maximum. You still gain going low, but you can gain a lot going high. And this is a very, very delicate combination. And you need to be solid in the plan and not be worried of what will be, because otherwise you will be lost. So again, communication.
Yeah, you make it sound so easy, Fred. What do we see here, Giulio, in terms of in this video that I've just paused? What are we seeing here in the video?
Yeah, I think it was. I was surprised during this video because this boat was the only one that was sailing open and a little bit in the speed mode. And as you can see, again, the work of the crew weight is really, really important. Again, the two guys in the front are hiking hard, like sometimes like an upwind, no? So they are trying to work in all the waves and puffs that are coming. And this is important. And I think that, Fede, you agree that inside the communication, it's important also the communication between these two guys that are hiking and the trimmer and the helmsman, because if not, probably the helmsman have to sail a little bit too higher or a little bit too low if they is not linked with the crew of his team.
I think that is very important. I strongly suggest to every Corinthian team or beginner in the class to have the Speedo. The Speedo is helping a lot to find some targets. Okay, it's maybe you will lose some feeling on the boat, but having some reference is very important, especially in tricky days or when you don't know the boat very well. So on Uka Uka, on the other boat where I sail with, we were always working on the targets, and every condition, every mode have its own crew displacement. Like in the video that we saw before, I think that are not still solid planning condition. I think that the guy are hiking too much, and the guy driving, in order to match the right heeling, need to sail higher. So guys, it's very important, the heeling angle. The heeling angle is due by how the driver is steering, but also how the crew is positioning on the rail. So according to me here, into the video that
I'd
like to move you on, Freddie.
You know, Prof,
okay, so we have to go. Okay, let's change that.
Okay.
The last time, Prof.
We're now going to talk about medium air, guys, and I suppose, you know, we've seen light air or super light air sailing, and then that transition mode that Freddie was talking about. And I guess here we could probably describe this potentially as lazy planing, Giulio. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, exactly. As Fred was saying, that it's probably the most difficult VMG to say, no, because it's really in the middle between the two VMG, and as you can see in this video, in the first part of the video, Andrea is sailing a little bit higher, so trying to have a stable heeling angle. In the last part of the video, when Andrea starts to sit again on the boat, they are switching and they are going to sail lower and lower, and all the crew positioning is changing again. So I think that it's really important that the crew, but all the configuration of the boat has not to be lazy. No, they have to be active to change every time the way to sail the boat. Speaking about the controls, sorry, Prof.
What about the mainsail setup there now? What are we looking for on the mainsail? Because we tend to talk about the kite trim a lot. But what about the mainsail setup there?
Yeah, I think that the big change that we are having is that in the low VMG, we are sailing with the mainsail traveler in the middle and probably with the backstay really close to be totally off. In this video, we start to change our way to trim the mainsail. So the main traveler is going lower and lower, maybe all the way on the leeward, and we start to play with the backstay. So the backstay is not totally off, but we start to trim it a little. And these are the two big difference that we have switching the VMG.
Okay.
At the same time, I think that in this condition, we are using just to adjust the twist, the vang. While the wind is increasing, we will see that we are going to use less and less vang and control the main only with the mainsail sheet. So
Freddie, that would be your classic lazy planing condition there, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I think that there are, as Giulio said, there are controls that are very important. Basically, I'm using the backstay a lot. Even if I'm a kite trimmer, I'm using the backstay because I'm changing the length of the laft. I'm using these a lot. So if we need to sail higher, I trim the backstay. If I have to sail lower, I use the backstay. I saw some question about backstay trim. I think that is always important to check the backstay. You can see the backstay on the slack of the forestay. So again, it's good to have you don't need to have a lot of slack on the forestay, so you need to have the head stay tight, let me say, most of the time, and then compare the mood, you have to trim it properly.
So Fred, so what you're saying is that if you were starting to sail a little bit more higher, then you would pull the backstay a little bit, which obviously pulls the mast back and straightens the luff of the spinnaker. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, this is happening like if you are at the finish and you're fighting with someone and there is like a match race and you are the leeward boat and you need to sail higher in order not to be covered. So you are like, let me say, in a strange angle. Then you trim the backstay in order to keep the kite flatter, and the boat will be much easier. Obviously, you're also depowering the main. Then again, as soon as you are able to escape from the guy and you can start having again your own BMG, you can ease the backstay a little bit in order to get more power on the kite. Obviously, we're talking about maximum 15 knots. But again, guys, the backstay is very important. Then another very simple tricks. Traveler off, backstay off. Traveler up, backstay, no, sorry, I got confused. Traveler down, vang off. Traveler in the middle, vang on.
Yeah.
So it's very simple, are two basic rules. If you are able to sail your own angle and you have, like in a lazy planning, drop the traveler, ease the vang, and just feel the heeling. If you are in a transition mode and you are able to surf still a little bit the waves, traveler in the middle, vang on. Not a lot, just a little bit.
Okay.
Guys, it's very important. The Melges 24 is a turbo boat, it's very powerful. We have a kite. It will be great to look at the speed going up, but the guy that is winning is the guy that is doing the best VMG. And the best VMG, most of the time, is sailing as low as possible without lose speed.
Can I ask you, Fred, here in this picture that we've just paused, we're lazy planing, and I guess there's one person with their body behind the helm, as far as I can see. At what point do you start to move the body weight aft, and how do you decide when to do that?
I mean, this is very difficult. I mean, many times we make a lot of mistakes to try to sail with the body more forward in order to have a better riding moment. The bow of the boat needs to be out of the water, not too much. So it's very important to have the bowman watching the bow and try always to have a nice balance. But please pay attention, because also sailing in a transition mode or in a lazy planning with the weight to par back, it's a mistake, because you are very stuck in the mode. So it's a big dinghy. You need to play the body forward and back.
We might just move on so to slightly windier conditions, Giulio.
Yeah, sorry, Prof. I have a question for Freddy, and just about the communication, because I think that is one of the key to sail fast in downwind. Who called the crew weight on board, Freddy? Usually you are the guy that is calling the crew weight, or there is someone else on board?
I mean, I think that the driver is the guy that have the better feeling to feel the balance. But I think that between the trimmer and the helmsman is a good compromise.
Yeah, with the tactician.
Like I was saying that they jibe great. I honestly think that in this video, Bombarda is not doing 100% good job, because at the beginning, as Giulio said, the heeling angle is changing a lot. This is very slow. Keeping the heeling angle constant is the key. And again, having the right tools on board with the instruments, you can also have the heeling angle. That is a very good tool, and must be always around 9 to 10 degrees. And you need to try to match this. It's unbelievable how the good guys are recovering in a downwind leg in a transitional lazy planning. It's unbelievable the gain that you can make.
Yeah. Would you say in the video here that there's not enough forwards and backwards and kinetic movement in the crew?
I think that they are definitely too forward with the bodies, and I think that you can see Andrea, the driver, that is the guy with the life jacket on the back. As soon as he switched mode, he sit on the deck, and I think that this was a right call. In the beginning of the video, definitely the weight was too forward.
Okay. So and if the weight is too far forward, it's just you see the knuckle of the bow in the water, Freddie.
Yes.
That's your judgment?
Yes. The knuckle should, when you're lazy planning, should always be outside. Not too much.
Yeah.
Not going uphill, not going downwind.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, guys. So that's really good stuff. And it's so important in the 24 to talk about that transitional mode and the lazy planing mode. And I guess we'll now get on to a little more breeze here. But before we do that, there's a lot of debate too about different jibing techniques and when to use them. So we might just talk about this a little bit, Giulio, and we'll just talk about a normal jibe, and we'll talk about a Mexican jibe, or as some people call it, a blow-through jibe. So just talk us through this one, Giulio.
Yeah, I think that it's important, Prof, also, there is a tactical choice also, no? Because we work a lot with my team to choose which is the best jibe, and I feel it's really difficult. Speaking about the VMG, in the end, our idea, it was that the normal jibe, the jibe that we are looking in the video, was the better one. But as you can see, and we can comment the video, the rotation of the boat have to be constant and smooth. So for this reason, I think that you need more time to do all the rotation of the boat. Then with this low rotation, you have to start with the kite. And as we can see, the kite go faster than the boat. And then in the end, the main arrive, and then the helmsman can go with the final exit angle. So there are more or less 3 phases in the jibe that are really important.
So here we have,
so now you can
move into the jibe here, Giulio. And as you say, the main is still on the old side, but the spinnaker is rotating faster than the turn. And I guess what I really like about it is that the spinnaker actually completely starts filling on the new side, like that.
Yeah,
and then
exactly. It's close to be a late main jibe, no? Really close to be a late main jibe. So I think that it's important that the kite start to rotate a little bit earlier, or however faster than the boat. And then again, I think that Fred already gave us a really important feedback about the over trim in the exit of the jibe. This is really important for the acceleration of the boat. And the other things that we will see also during the Mexican jibe, I think that the jib is really important to do a good jibe. So in this,
let's not
yeah.
talk about the Mexican jibe first of all. So
no, yeah.
Talk
Come on, Giulio.
very specifically, right? We're turning.
Sorry, you are the prof. Sorry.
I want you to talk very specifically as the boat turns. At what point do we release the old spinnaker sheet and start pulling the new one?
If you can see that if you start again the video,
yeah,
there is the first part when Ciampa, the trimmer, starts to take the new sheet, and this is the moment. No,
so
this is exactly the moment.
Is the moment where the old sheet is released and
yeah.
then the boat starts turning down, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's really important that we explain this. So he's released the old sheet and the boat is only just starting to turn dead downwind.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we now have the new sheet, and I guess it's all at this point, it's all about line speed on the new sheet to go as fast as you can to get the sheet in, to get the kite around. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And during this, this maneuver of the kite, the helmsman have to check a little bit if the kite is ready to close the jibe or not.
Yeah, and I guess, Fred, this is what you were talking about, is the communication between the trimmer and the helmsman as the boat is going through the jibe.
My great friend Ed Bird is on the TP is keep repeating me the same thing every time: method and technique. Okay, right. And he always want me to start first, and then he follow me. Again, communication is the key. For me, the best is the tactician is calling the jibe. Okay, guys, ready to jibe. 3, and I start easing. 2, and I'm almost in the middle of the jibe. 1, and the boat is jibing. For me, what I learned specifically in the Melges 24, and I think that here Ciampa is doing is, according to me, is wrong to my technique, because when I'm doing this jibe that we call power jibe, okay, like the windsurf jibe, so where it's very important to keep a great VMG soaking and not losing speed. The best thing is that my body, the guy in front of me, he start pulling the new rope. So I'm in control of the easing. There is no slack, yeah. Okay? There is no slack. The guy is pulling. Sorry, Giulio, can you please stop texting me because I cannot read? Anyway.
I'm suggesting you, no? Because
okay, no, but just to be serious. Okay, we are sailing downwind, ready to jibe. The guy in front of me, that normally is the pit, let me say, is grabbing the lazy sheet. He start pulling, not too much. Then I have a very good control of how much I'm easing compared to the boat turn. The guys keep pulling. And then when we are in the middle of the jibe, I release the pressure from my muscle for a second, let me say. And then I help him in. And we are doing the pulling in 2 together. So it's very powerful. Because I think that here Ciampa is losing a meter. So for me, it's much easier to do this in 2 person.
Okay, so usually
I don't know if you understand my Japanese.
Well, I mean, every boat is different, and I suppose ultimately you want to get the same result. But I mean, for me, what this looks like is really nice because the kite fills and the jib is flapping, which for me is so important because it allows the air to blow through the 4 triangle and fill the spinnaker quickly, and then the main is last. And I think it's quite a nice slide. But I know that, Freddie, what you're saying is when you're in the boat, you need to have the person who's next to you helping you to make sure that you get the old sheet off and the new sheet in at the right timing, and the helmsman has to follow, as you say.
I mean, from my experience, if you're doing this in two person, it's definitely more consistent. But I think that Giulio have to say something, because normally, Prof, when he's smiling like that, you need to say something.
No, I totally agree. No, I think that it's important. Everybody, we have the same goal, but we can arrive to achieve this goal in different ways. So, for example, is a good feedbacks divide the jibe with two person, and Ciampa do the jibe alone. So it's a different approach. But I was smiling because I really agree with what Prof said about the jibe. So I was talking about that. I really like that the jibe is flapping in the exit of the jibe, and looks. I think that a lot of teams are not considering the importance that have the jibe flapping in the exit. And this really
but please, before the jibe, trim little bit the jibe, or you're going to destroy this poor sail with your lazy sheet. So trim the jibe little bit, have the clue going through the head state, and then flap. But please don't jibe with the jibe completely loose, or you will make Giulio very happy.
No, but Carlo was managing good the jibe.
So we might, Giulio, we might just have a look at this Mexican jibe now, and we can, if you'd like to talk us through that, and we'll play it a few times, and then we'll slow it down and talk about that.
Prof, Mexican or blow through?
Well, I always say blow through.
Okay.
What are we going to call it, Giulio?
For me, it's a Mexican.
Oh.
No, as you prefer.
I'll press play here. Hold on. Here we go.
No.
No.
The previous. No.
No. 1 second.
Here we go.
I think that it's really useful have this kind of jibe in the pocket, because especially on Garda, for example, where you are sailing on port and you have to jibe close to the rocks, you have the line of the boat behind you that are just waiting you to jibe on you, no? So I think that could be a good tools and a really good tactic move. So you can, the tactician can call the jibe, and it's really shorter, no, compared to the other kind of jibe that we saw in the previous video. The big difference, I think, that is the rotation of the boat that is faster in the first part of the jibe, and the procedure is totally different. We can see the bowman that is going to take the clue of the gennaker, pulling it down to the deck of the boat, and it's important then that with this kind of maneuver and with the rotation of the boat, the kite collapse on the jib. And I really want to say, don't ease the jib too early, because if you ease the jib too early, the kite go inside the headstay and it will be a nightmare. So
as we can see here, the boat turns down, the bowman grabs the sheet, pulls the sheet down, but the jib is not released, so that the spinnaker backs against the jib and then release.
Exactly. This is really important to do this kind of jibe.
So again, as Fred said, I suppose if the bowman or bowwoman is holding the clue down and the trimmer is holding on to the old sheet, then as Fred says, having a second person to pull the new sheet is probably good.
I think that in the Mexican, first of all, I think that it's great to get everyone involved in the regatta. So it's very important to be focused. In the Mexican, normally, I only ask the help of the floater or the pitman, the guy that is in front of me, to pull the slack. It's very important in the Mexican. Obviously, earlier you do the cut, better it is, but it's very important to do the cut only when the lazy sheet is tight. Yeah. Otherwise, you lose the clue. I think that looks very fancy. When you're able to do a great Mexican, the feeling is great and the mozo is super up. I still think that the power jibe is better in BMG, and as Giulio said, the Mexican is very good when you are doing some matching, you are jibing, like in Riva del Garda is very important, because when normally you do the jibe set, then you try to sail high to reach the wall, and then it's very important to do a jibe and be able not have to be killed from the guy that is coming from behind. So the Mexican is helping this a lot. I think that it's very important to be able to do both perfectly. And so, again, is a matter of communication.
So primarily, Freddie, you would favor the Mexican, if you like, for tactical reasons, but if there were no boats around, normal jibe most of the time. Yeah,
I think that is also less risky, because the Mexican, I mean, you need to be perfect. The turn must be perfect. The cut must be perfect. Having the lazy sheet pull enough is, I mean, it's the dynamics is more complicated. I think that is a great tool, but again, guys, just be focused to call a Mexican or a blow through jibe when it's very necessary.
Okay, gotcha. All right, interesting stuff. Okay, guys, we'll have to press on, but it's really interesting to me that that the Mexican is sort of primarily a tactical tool, is what I'm hearing, and the normal jibe is on average better VMG overall. But that's very, very interesting stuff for sure, guys. So we'll go on to the next one now, and we're moving now into stronger, super fun conditions. And I think, Giulio, this is Bombarda again, sailing in pretty strong winds. And what are the differences here in terms of, let's talk about the mainsail, Giulio, for starters. And what are we looking at here in terms of the mainsail?
Yeah, in this windy condition, in the video we were sailing in Miami with 18 knots more or less, and the main traveler is all the way down. The Vang is managed by Nicholas the bowman, but I can say that it's really close to be totally off.
So
and
can I come here, Giulio, and tell me, why is the main traveler all the way down, and why is that important?
It's really important because in this way, with the mainsail sheet, you can manage the twist of the mainsail, and you are really active to help to have the heeling angle constant. No, so
who does the main sheet downwind in these conditions?
In this condition, in this case, for example, Matteo, the tactician, that is the guys all the way back.
The guy at the back of the boat, the tactician, is doing the main sheet.
Yeah, exactly. The guys in the back is the tactician, and he is also doing the mainsail. He is also the mainsail trim, and you can approach in two different way. In our team, Matteo was bringing the main from the block down below. So, or there are some other tacticians that take the mainsail sheet from the block attached on the boom. But it depends by your style. It's not a rule. I prefer managing the main, taking the sheet from the block down below. In this way, you can control a little bit. In my opinion, you can control more the twist of the mainsail.
So when you're taking the block from the bottom, that means that when you pull the main sheet in, the boom is going down and closing the lead, so you can get more power quickly. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. In this way, you are managing the heeling angle, and sometimes if the boat is going to crash in the waves, you can over trim just a little bit the main and put the boat out of the waves.
Okay. And what are we seeing here, Fred, in terms of the crew? And we still have, I think it looks like one person, the bowman or bow person, is still in front of the spinnaker trimmer in these conditions. Is that correct?
Guys, first of all, 20 years old, 28 years old. The Melges 24 is almost 30 years old. And look how great this boat is, guys. I mean, it's unbelievable. The job that Buddy and Harry did making this boat happen is like a miracle, seriously. Now, I think that this is a perfect combination of, as a crew displacement. There is an option, if it's much more wind than that, to have the bowman on the back but I think that then is very crowded on the stern. I think that they are doing great.
We have the next video, Freddy.
Okay. I think that is a perfect combination. Still, I think that Bombarda is doing the same mistake of the previous video. The healing angle is changing too much.
Wow.
I think that it's very important to keep the right healing all the time. And sometimes it's not just the driver. It's like the main trimmer that is not trimming properly the sails. Like what I like a lot is having a very firm a very firm laugh. And this is, I mean, I remember again, Checco Bruni, he keep repeating me the same thing every time. Fred, stop playing so much. I want to have a laugh firm, because a laugh firm will help also a lot the driver. So
I remember that days, Freddy, with the 20.
I still have nightmare.
I remember that.
Because then everyone come on board and have his own strong opinion, you know, and you are always wrong.
Can I ask, Freddie, so in these conditions, you know, 18, 20 knots, I presume the Vang is off and the backstay, is the backstay on?
The backstay is almost, I mean, it's not full on, but it's almost full on. You need to release it a little bit in order to get the compression out.
Yeah.
And this is very important, okay, the backstay trim, because if maybe the wind drop 5 knots is the time that you have to release the backstay a little bit in order to have more power, okay, and to have the laugh coming windward more for like a more soaking mode. So again, guys, don't forget the backstay. That is very, very, very important, even downwind.
Perfect.
Can we say, Freddy, that in this condition we are sailing with the 70%, 80% of the backstay on in 18 knots? Okay.
Yes. I think that the goal is to have a firm backstay.
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, in these conditions, obviously the helmsman guys has to stand up. And the tactician might well have the main sheet in their hand standing at the back, and the bow person here. I mean, it's still super important to try and hike as hard as you can, Freddie, in these conditions.
Yes. But please take your feet up, or you need a trimmer with a scuba mask and the
There is the next video that is interesting about the scuba mask.
it's because the guy like Nico here is doing a very good job, but few guys are normally hiking and they have the feet in the water all the time. That is low, but then there is a splash that looks amazing.
Good stuff. Okay, guys, so we're now moving up the wind range now, and we're sort of, you know, 18 to 20 knots in these conditions. Bang off, bow person still in front of the rest of the team, backstay 70% on, and I think now we're going to move on to some super strong conditions where we'll see some pretty fantastic action here in the 24. So I think this is monsoon, Giulio, am I right?
Yeah, it's monsoon. I think that the day before the World Championship, or 2 days before the World Championship last year in Villa Simius. And, you know, we went out to do this training with my team. I was coaching Bombarda, and monsoon was sailing a great downwind. So I went closer to see the technique and to do the video to show to my guys. Yeah. And I think that it's interesting. See that in this video there is Freddy on monsoon trimming the kite, and all the other guys of the crew are behind him. And I think that they are doing an amazing job. And the wind was really strong. Was I think plus than 25 knots. And in this case, however, Freddy, you know that he's confident with the situation, because as we can see in the end of the video, he also had the time to say me ciao. No, it was a ciao, Freddy, in the last part of the video.
Was something. No, but before I was smiling because I remember, Prof, this moment so well. So it was like blowing like 30 knots, I think. and was like huge wave. And I was sailing with Bruce and the Monsoon Gang, and was amazing, because at one point, I always try to, okay, not when I'm sailing with Giulio, but normally I'm always try to be super nice and positive, okay? And obviously was a very intense moment, and I start saying to Bruce that I say a lot because he's a great friend. Bruce, you are sailing so great. You are like my little dolphin, jump on the waves. And basically all the crew blow up, and was very funny. As you can see here, I'm the first guy on the bow. We sent the Chelsea, that was our bowman, on the back, because here the wave was very, very big, and it was very important to have the bow out of the water as much as possible. In this condition is Van Gogh, traveler down, you control with the main heeling, and the goal is to try to sail as low as possible. And if you look at my laugh, even here, that is super windy, is firm. It's not too trim, but it's firm. And this will make the boat much more stable. So I'm very thanks to Kekko Bruni that teach me this trick. And again, I think that our speed was amazing. And I was saying almost, no, I said, wait, I think that we can say fuck off to Giulio, because the guy was there for like 45 seconds with his power boat, with the terrible sound of the engine going at 20 knots. And
I broke the moment. I broke the moment.
But at least he teaches his team how to sail downwind.
I think it really is an amazing. It is almost like just majestic Melges 24 conditions, where you have the Vang totally released, the backstay probably pretty hard on, and that just feeling of hiking as hard as you can to keep the boat as flat as you can to get it to turn downwind. What Giulio, is it, at what point, Giulio, do we move every single person behind the trimmer? I guess it's about 20 knots in these conditions or more, isn't it?
Yeah, but maybe more than 20 knots, I think. No, I have another question for Freddie about the two questions, sorry. And one is we were joking about the communication, that it's important to have a positive communication, but I think that is not a, it is not just a joke, but I think that it's really important, no, Freddie, to push all the team, and I think that show that you are confident in this situation. It's really helpful for the driver. And the other question that I have for you is, we discussed a little bit about the position of the mainsail traveler. In this condition, you were still sailing with the main traveler all the way down, or you start sailing again with the main traveler closer to the middle?
I think that there are different cases where you need to have the traveler up if you are not able to sail your proper VMG and you need to sail a little higher, so you twist the main a little more. Otherwise, in this condition, sailing alone, you need to have the traveler all the way down, Van Gogh, keep the crew calm, keep the helmsman calm. The boat is easy, is very stable. And you need, again, you win sailing lower with the right pressure, with the right heeling angle again, but you need to sail lower. Many guys are doing the mistake to try to sail higher, and then your heels start changing every second. Two heel, two flat, two heel, two flat, two heel, two flat. If you're able to have a constant heel and sail a good VMG, you are at least 1 knot faster than the guy that is making the mistake to go up and down.
And Freddie, in these conditions, how can the tactician help the driver sail that low angle as best they can? Is it communicating the puffs as they come in? And how do you keep it on that angle of heel? How do you keep it consistent? Any advice on that?
I think that it depends a lot who is driving. If you are with a pro driver, you just need to call the right path, and the guy is doing everything by himself. If you're sailing with a Corinthian, or maybe a Corinthian that is also a beginner, I think that you need to pay attention not to get him scared, okay? Because anyway, we're talking about almost unraceable condition. Yeah. And it's a very small line between be able to race properly or to survive mode. So normally I like to take control of the mode. I'm always find a good relationship with my driver. Let me say, we talk about numbers like up 3, straight, go straight, up 1, bow down 3. Okay, this is a great way. Okay, you can serve down. Okay, go up. I mean, I think that is very important. Someone have to be in control of the communication and need to help the driver.
Yeah.
I think that is better the trimmer just because he have the feel of what he's doing. And then another very important message to the driver is the average. Like, okay, like an example with Bruce. Bruce, I keep saying that we are too low. So we need to say slightly higher, or I keep saying that we are too high, so we have to say lower. Obviously, it's not easy to manage this kind of communication when it's blowing like 25 knots and you're going at 20. But it's very important to be calm, to try to have like a happy mode on board.
Yeah.
And
we know, Fred, that you are a calm guy.
No, I mean, not when I'm sitting with you. Normally, I'm a calm guy.
All our friends on Georgie, the Melges 32 team that we stay together, everybody knows that you are a really calm guy.
Giulio, I have my team here.
It's clear.
No, but it's important to have a solid plan.
Yeah, I think.
What
you said, Fred, sorry, Giulio, what you said there just reminded me of, you know, if you're in a happy mode and as you describe it, and the boat is going fast, I guess the tactician could say something like, you know, on average, guys, we're a little bit lower than the fleet and a little bit slower, and maybe we need to come up a bit, or the other way around, and maybe the tactician can talk about the averages. Would that be a good thing, Giulio?
Yeah, I think that as you said, it's really helpful for the driver and for the trimmer that the tactician speak about the picture that there is around. No, so the comparison with the other teams is really important, and I think that it's important, however, also that the Gennaker trimmer sometimes just check really quickly the situation, because of course the tactician can explain everything, but in tough situation, it's important also that the Gennaker trimmer just have a look to understand what is going on.
I certainly know.
Yeah, but this is an excuse, Giulio, as all the tactician. I think that when you are
be careful. Remember what Bruni was explaining.
I totally agree, but again, please keep in mind to all the tacticians of the world that is a very big frustration from the trimmer that maybe is helping the guy driving to do a great job as a team. Sometimes having a small feedback, we are going fine, we are sailing too low, we are sailing too high, is for free, guys. I'm sure that you can find the time to give a feedback every 45 seconds, 1 minute. It's
guys,
not a big task.
It's not fair because you are two against one tactician, so it's not fair, this discussion.
Yeah.
I certainly
it's true.
I remember guys trimming on M-bar, trimming the kite. I had no idea what was going on if the boat was planing in strong winds like that, because I just couldn't look around at all, and I was just completely relying on the helmsman or the tactician describing what was happening, and then we would work the mode together. And once I knew what mode we were sailing in, then I could trim the spinnaker accordingly. But for me anyway, I couldn't look around in these conditions at all. I was just hanging on.
Okay, Prof, let's do that. The truth is in the middle. When he's steady, when he's fine, I think that is very good that the trimmer is checking around. But I think that when he's puffy, when the pressure is not clear, and when you are in the middle of the traffic, you need to receive feedback. The driver needs to receive feedback, because I think that in this tight moment, everyone has to do his own job.
Right.
And your own job, because then, Prof, you know better than me, then you watch one time, and then you lose the kite, and then you're finished. So.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Well, guys, we're coming up to nearly an hour now, so we better move on. But that's been fascinating discussion about the different modes in sailing, the Melges 24, from that light air, you know, P1, jib in, jib out, to the transition mode, to the lazy planing mode, and then to the full-on planing mode. So we just have a final video here. And I don't really know what to say about this, Giulio, so you better say what this is.
Yeah, I feel that
the best
finally,
Melges 24 downwind video of the history.
You know, I choose the title, no, Prof. So I think that this is the video, no, and this was, as you remembered, was a downwind during the World Championship that you, Prof, won in Miami, and I was sailing with Bombard at this championship, and I remember you sailing downwind in the wavy condition, and was something really unbelievable. And I think that it's really difficult sail in this way, and
I would say possible.
And I think that it's interesting. Look, this video not just for the Melges 24, but for all the sports sailing boats. So for the other Melges, for the other one design boat, and it's the perfect balance, you know, between the helmsman and all the boat system. So we can see the helmsman that I know your helmsman, and I know your tactician, Devi, are two great for 70 sailors that, if I'm not wrong, in this year or maybe the year later, they won the European Championship. And they were great sailing in downwind, working with the crew weight, pumping the main, and you were following all the waves with the kite. So, Prof, it's your turn. You have to comment your video. This is the moment.
Well, I mean, it's amazing that this video, I think, has had 50 or 60,000 hits on YouTube, and that was like in the months immediately afterwards. And we'll have to thank Mauro as well for it, because it is an amazing video. But I suppose what was great for me sailing on Embar is that the five of us on the boat seemed to be able to think as one and move as one and when we needed. So when we needed to hike, we all hiked together. When we needed to jump into the middle, we jumped into the middle together. And when the bow went into the water, we moved back. And then when we started lazy planing again, we moved our weight again. And I suppose that was just having five very committed sailors on the boat who really had sailed together for so long and had done a lot of work together. But I suppose it is interesting. We seem to have that nice mode downwind with the Max runner in Dynacote in Miami, and it was a pleasure sailing with that team for sure. So,
how many boats you were passing every downwind, Prof?
Well, we got to the windward mark. You know, there was in that event we started never at the ends. We started maybe the middle third of the line most of the time, and we got to the windward mark, sometimes fifth, sometimes sixth, sometimes seventh, and we were able to pass a lot of boats downwind every time. And I think it was just really concentrating on the basics very well. The heel angle, the pressure in the spinnaker, the forward and aft balance, but all of that, you know, is dependent on having a really top helmsman. But even Stu as a top helmsman needed a really excellent tactician, so that the tactician could paint the picture all the time. And certainly as the trimmer, you know, being responsible for the kite downwind, I could hear the tactical discussion all the time happening, and I would just make small little adjustments to my spinnaker trim technique depending on the picture that the tactician was painting, and then depending what the helmsman was telling me. So it is an extraordinary video to be part of, but I think it just displays the power of the team of 5 people in the Melges 24 working together, and the extraordinary gains you can make in speed when 5 people are working together. I don't know what you think, Freddie.
I mean, the best video on the Melges 24 class for a downwind.
Well, you're very kind.
But let me say step by step.
I just strongly suggest not to try this to anyone during race.
Yeah. No, step
Because
by
guys,
step.
you can
Step
be
by
5
step.
knots slower. So enjoy trying to do that during a training, but please don't do that in a race. No, but these are the most difficult conditions for a Melges 24. I was not there. I don't know how much, but I think that this was like 11, 10 knots with more wave than wind. And this is definitely the most difficult condition for the driver, for the tactician, for the trimmer, for the floater, and the bowman. It's a nightmare because you are sailing always too high or too low. Obviously, Ember in this moment was doing perfectly. High when it was time to go high and low when it was time to go low, but it's not easy. Let me say that my suggestion, for beginners, don't surf too much. It's even better to go straight and try to have a constant good VMG than try to be too low or surfing the wave with no pressure, and then you are forced to sail too high, and then you lose a lot of VMG.
Perfect. Okay, guys. Well, look, we're what time have we now? We're probably a couple of minutes over time, but I just maybe just to finish off, could you give me a little 20-second summary, Giulio?
No, just saying that Stu McNee is connected with us this evening. So if you want to say ciao to your husband, he's following us.
How's it going, Stu? Hi to Tanya and the children.
Guys, see you on the dock see you in the water as soon as possible.
Great stuff. All right, guys. Well, listen, I just want to wrap it up there. Thank you very much, Giulio from North Sails Italy over in Genoa. Fred, thank you so much. It's been brilliant having you. Really, really loved having all your insights into your amazing record in the Melges 24. And for me, Prof O'Connell here in North Sails Ireland in Dublin, thanks again. And you can catch this video on the North Sails YouTube channel once we have it uploaded, and we'll let you know when the video is there. And stay safe, everybody, and keep an eye out for the next webinar coming up in our series. Good night.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Ciao.